This is for you, sir,
Thank you.
and for me. And I'm gonna let you pour your own because I tend to pour extremely heavy.
That's
And
fine.
last time I did
Not
that,
going anywhere for a little
yeah,
while.
last time I did that with my dad, he literally got ticked at me because I poured it so damn heavy. Today we're here for something special, something different, and it was supposed to be gear and beer, but I actually don't have any cold beer, so we're going straight up with some bourbon. Wait, what have we got? Woodford Reserve?
It is Woodford Reserve.
Yeah, so something special. I got it actually for Christmas time. It's pretty strong, so I'd be lying to say I haven't thrown some back. Boom.
2 fingers.
But anyways, man, how have you been? And for those that are not familiar with who you are, what you do, give me a little bit of what's going on.
Okay, so my name is Josh. I have been kind of on and off with the photo and video industry. Um,
For how long?
uh,
Several years, right? We've known each other.
yeah, for at least several years. Yeah, like it was you, me, and Jesse that worked the one wedding that first time, and then after that, we worked a few jobs together.
True.
Before that, like, it was just mostly hobby
Yeah.
stuff.
Cheers, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, we got fancy glasses.
Oh, that's good. That's real good.
Yeah, it should be pretty good.
So we're renaming the channel to Bourbon and Gear.
At least for this episode, I'm probably have to stick to beer, or I won't be able to talk for very long. But yeah, I mean, one, you have been doing this. We met several years ago. I feel like we even tried to do this like 2 years ago, and it was actually pretty
In
good.
frame.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We didn't stick to it, so shame on us. So here we are 2 years later, and yeah, what are we here to do today anyways? Outside of this, which I kind of just threw on you last minute, we are going to be doing what with you later today?
So I'm trying to build my portfolio for both, for photography. So basically, we're gonna try to get some headshots and maybe some portraits, and hopefully,
Sure.
if you got time to, I don't know if you're gonna do any other videos, but maybe try to do some branding stuff.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
maybe next time, but at the very least, like if
No,
you got time to do headshots.
It's funny when you hit me up. I was super pumped because some of you might be familiar, but I'm going completely out on my own. So when you mentioned doing headshots and things like that for branding, it was just perfect timing. So things happening for a reason. Also, yeah,
As we were
cheers to
talking about
that.
a little bit earlier.
Yeah. But okay, so as far as your portfolio goes, I know you mentioned before we even turned the camera on that you're in the process of building it. So somebody that's doing photography and videography, can you kind of explain to those that are maybe new, whether it be from YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, how does that process work? What are you going through right now?
So basically, other than like, won't go too deep into like, personal life things that were going on, but essentially I hit a few walls and I kind of realized like, it really just comes down to doing the work.
Sure.
So I've been kind of like focused on like building up the kind of formatting of my website. So like pretty much anytime I'm not like at work, which right now I work at a bike shop, which I've been at the last 4 years, which went completely crazy this year. Apparently when there's nothing else to do, everyone wants to ride a bike.
Apparently.
So, yeah, so now it's like recently I've been kind of focused on just trying to like anytime I'm not doing something that's like working towards my goals that I want to do, like in photography and in video.
Sure.
I'm basically just working. So I've just been reaching out to people, trying to source through everything I have like on Lightroom and stuff like that, and pulling off any photos I've done in the past that I could just throw in a portfolio, and just like hitting people up, be like, hey, you want to do a shoot and stuff like that.
What website host do you use? Because I know most people probably watch YouTube, so it's Squarespace.
Everyone likes Squarespace.
What do you
I
use?
went with Wix.
Wix, really?
Wix.
Okay.
So-
I still use WordPress, which is awful. I'm sure that's maybe I don't even know.
I went with Wix because I checked Squarespace first.
Uh-huh.
And the thing, and for me, I am the type of person I like most people like easy to set up and go like, okay, cool, this is good enough. I like to make things mine.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So Wix gives you a little bit more flexibility.
I built my site from scratch. And that was something I could not figure out how to do with Squarespace.
Okay.
So I've been building my website up from scratch. So basically like no templates or anything. I kind of went one way with it where everything was nice and bright, and I was just like, nah, this isn't me. And then I made everything like nice, dark, moody, like nice looking, and it's still kind of that, but it's leaning more towards like the industry I want to get into, which is a lot more like travel, adventure, extreme sports, things like that. So yeah, Wix is definitely, it's got some of its drawbacks, I think, compared to Squarespace. I think Squarespace is easier if you're like, you just want a space to be able to put stuff up. But, for me, it's like, I want to get my hands dirty.
Yeah. Dude, websites are so weird because I can't even figure out, like, do I put a bunch of stuff on there? Do I just have one thing on there? I mean, with me being more video oriented, the only thing I can think of is a reel probably being what I'm kind of lacking. So shame on me in regards to that. But websites to me are a weird thing because I'm also kind of a hater and think that I see a lot of value in the Instagrams and Facebook and YouTube. So I probably spend way too much time on that. But in 2021, I definitely got to fix my website. It's awful.
Yeah. Yours actually is not bad compared to what it was, like, because I remember seeing it when it was like a giant mobile site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, since then, like, it definitely looks a lot better. You just need kind of like a little bit more, I think,
customization maybe? Or
not
just
necessarily
like
customization. Like, I mean, you don't have anything in there as far as like pricing and things
That's
like
true.
that.
That's a good
So
point.
definitely kind of setting your prices up. Like, I did some, because I mean, you know me, like I am, and this has been my problem, and I still do it, but I've been getting better to where it's like, now it's like, okay, I look something up and then I apply it.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time like consuming and learning. So I was a
Sure.
learning addict. But like one of the things like I was looking up recently, I was like, should I have prices on mine? And then the one thing is that if you're trying to make a living out of this, you kind of need to have your prices up front. Otherwise, like if you're trying to sit there and be like, oh, well, I'll do anything, basically work for any budget or something like that, which, could work for or against you.
Are you putting ballpark budgets, I'm guessing? Like, this package is this.
Yeah, so trying to focus more on packages and stuff like that. I will have a few, like, for example, like branding shoots, right? Like, there's so many different types of things you can do with branding, depending on what someone does, that you can't really come up with a solid price.
What is a branding shoot for? Like, because I don't know. I mean, I guess I know what I would be doing for video, but what is branding shooting for
branding
photography?
Is kind of like your headshots and stuff like that.
Okay.
Basically, like your traditional headshots are usually set with like a backdrop, or it could be outside. It's a typical like either a medium shot or it's a close up shot or something like that, like head and shoulders, not the shampoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, that's your like typical headshot, like even like kind of like portraits and stuff like that. You have like your environmental headshots where it's like you're kind of in your workspace and you have like that same kind of portrait style, but you're like in your like whatever workspace you're in.
Okay.
And then branding's like a little bit more like kind of showing off like your personality or something like that.
Gotcha.
Sometimes it could be like photos of like, I guess, what you're doing, like, so like for you, if you're doing a lot of like video creation, like it could be like a photo like of you like in your space, but you're like, moving the camera around like on a gimbal or something like that, and
Gotcha.
it just like kind of shows you like
in action.
Yeah. So I mean, branding, again, it's one of those things like there's a lot that can kind of get encompassed. It could be really simple or it could really be really complex. So like pricing something like that, you can't really just be like, okay, here's a quote. Sure. It's like, hey, shoot me an email, let me know what we need, we'll see what we can do for you.
So let me ask you this: the whole thought of this little thing that we're doing today is around gear. So can you give me some like feedback on the kind of gear that you're using? Like, what is your go-to gear? What is and also because we've talked about your website, what is your website?
It's joshuataft.com.
Okay,
very simple.
Fair enough.
JOSHUATAFT. Tango Alpha Foxtrot Tango, because I know sometimes the F sounds like an S.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that is my my website. Gear wise,
yeah, what do you got? Show us your gear.
This is basically one of them. So for my regular photo shoots, I have two of these Canon 80D.
Okay.
Works just fine. I actually found online a profile which kind of gives me log capability.
Okay.
So even though it's on an 8-bit, like I've actually been able to get some decent color out of it. Bless you.
Okay.
Allergies.
Okay, go ahead. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, so it's a Yeah, it's a Canon 80D. Like I got because like I mean I got two of these. I bought them used. Which if you're trying to get started, I highly recommend checking out places like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and finding used gear.
Okay.
Because it was like first time I got the camera, I got this from a dude in Pennsylvania. He shipped it. He split the shipping for like it was like $90 shipping. Split $45.
Okay.
I got this camera. I got 3 lenses. And then I got a Video Mic Pro, and then just like a bunch of like Amazon stuff, cleaning.
How much?
You get $1,100, then plus $45 for the split shipping.
Does it have a flip out screen?
Yep.
Oh, nice. That's like a vlogger's camera too.
Perfect. That's kind of what it was like for, and a lot of people like this before the 90D.
Okay.
And then the 90D gave everyone like 4K capability, but then Canon was kind of stingy with the 24 frames for a little bit until they patched that with an update. But yeah, no, like it's good. I got the kit 18 to 135 lens, which gives me some pretty good range. I got a 10 to 18 35 millimeter macro.
Okay.
And then for like $900, I got it's in my bag. It's the 50 millimeter like L series lens. It's the 1.2.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blurry backgrounds. Yeah.
Very blurry backgrounds.
Nice.
And then I got a second camera with like it came with a kit lens and then the 55 to 250.
Okay.
Which I don't use the 18 to 55, and then the 55 to 250 has usually been more for like I use for like astrophotography, which I got it for that again $1,100, but I got 2 cameras, another 80D. I got a 60D, which I use as my astro camera because it has a lot of good features for that.
Yeah.
And then I got the 2 lenses, and then got I think some memory cards, and then a cage, which works with the cameras, so it'll work all the way up to like a 90D. So
you got 2 cameras at
3
this point?
technically,
3?
but two that I use for like working stuff. The other one, like I said, I use for astrophotography.
Gotcha. So Camera Basics 101, we discussed the gear that you're shooting with, and you mentioned like shooting log or whatnot. Do you want to explain to people in a nutshell what that is? Or
it just basically creates a really flat image,
yeah,
so that way you retain more shadow detail and your highlight detail.
Sure.
So like the dynamic range of cameras, like especially when you're talking with like when you shoot a photo, you get 12-bit RAW, which a lot of people are using video RAW now, which basically gives you more data that you can adjust your highlights, your shadows, and all that stuff. Well, with cameras, they used to bake it into like MP4 and MOV files.
Yep.
So everything, as far as the video profile goes, is baked into the video.
Yep.
So if you want to retain that detail, you have to basically get that detail from the sensor and then raise up the shadows and then lower the highlights and then bake that
really nerdy.
into
You're getting really nerdy. Yeah.
That's basically what it is. I mean, it essentially, it just creates a really flat image, and then when you go into post-processing, you can like add,
you basically take advantage of all the stuff.
It gives you a lot more range. So like instead of like, whereas like when, for example, when you shoot a JPEG, you can get you can lose all your shadow detail. You're never going to get it back in editing or anything like that.
Sure.
Your highlights could be blown out.
Can you take raw photos on phones for people that are curious, maybe, or I'm even curious? You can.
If you,
I'm guessing you probably have to use like what, like a Filmic or some kind of.
Yeah, there's some different apps out there.
Yeah.
Because you do have capability to get raw images off of phones. But I would say like if you wanted to do it, just get like $10 a month gets you like the Adobe's like
Lightroom or whatever.
Lightroom, their photography package, and you can shoot images on Lightroom mobile, and it'll basically add it directly to your catalog, directly to your library, and then it'll sync it.
Well,
with
there you go.
Else.
There's the solution right there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
And you got like pro features, so you can like adjust your focus, adjust your shutter speed, all that stuff. So
since we're still talking about gear, I want to center a lot of the conversation around gear. What's the next? Well, what about lighting? Because like I don't do any photography. Just like side note, we're shooting with like a knockoff version of the Aperture 120D, but it's got bicolor temperature. So my point being is, what kind of lighting are you using for taking photos? Is it all like strobe lights? Is that what the heck it is? I know nothing about.
You don't have to. So like. Honestly, like I do a lot more like landscapes and stuff like that and outdoors, so a lot of it's just natural light.
When you say landscapes, God, I'm gonna ask dumb questions here. Is that just like big wide shots, basically?
Not all the times. I mean, just it's outdoors, like different like landscapes is like just like it could be like wide landscape shots, very
Sure.
wide angles, but like there's a few good YouTubers. I can't remember off the top of my head their names, but like you look up like landscape photographers on YouTube. James Popsis, I think is his
Yes.
name. Yes,
Oh, he's
yeah,
hilarious.
he
A
does it. So it's
Panasonic
like,
guy too.
So yeah, he does works on a lot on the S5 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they talk a lot about like it doesn't always have to be wide angles. You can do like zoom in shots, which is really good. I think the other guy's name is like Nigel Daniels or something like that. He's I'd have to look it up real quick, but yeah, he does a lot of landscape stuff, and he likes to talk a lot about like when you go into like really tight focal lengths, you can create a lot of more mystery in kind of like the landscape photos. So instead of getting the huge mountain vista, you get like just a portion of it with like a good like kind of foreground that leads up to it. So there's a lot more that goes into landscape than just a wide angle lens.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, big wide shots.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as far as like now we're going down the gear wormhole, but cameras.
You wanted a little more on lighting. I use
Yeah. Keep going on the lighting. I guess we didn't even answer all
I
that.
have some old like newer like LED lights. I don't
Sure.
use much. Like I'll probably use them to like highlight the background. I don't know where it is. I have a RGB light. It's not the F7. It's the one that has the like the articulating arm.
Oh, I've seen those before.
Yeah, I don't know if I have.
I've
it in
actually
my
heard
bag.
like good reviews on those.
It's
It was
a
just
good one. I still would like to get the.
the little Falcon F7. Dude, that was given to me for free. They literally, the funny part about that is they sent me that light, and I'm always grateful for free gear. Don't get me wrong, but I then come to realize they must have sent that out to like 1,000 other people with channels of my size or lower, because it was just.
I got hit up one time about getting sent some stuff, and I was just like, nah. It's like I'm trying to focus my energies kind of elsewhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, my channel obviously is centered around that more. It's kind of for me, I think it's like a 50-50 of gear plus what the hell I'm up to. But yeah, gear videos, if that's all you're doing, can get a little brutal. Because then you're just talking about the same stuff over and over and over again.
I don't have much of a passion for it. I found the light, but it's like in the side on my bag.
Deep down in the bag.
Yeah.
What kind of bag is that?
This is the Low Pro. I forget the name of it, but it's their Photosport.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's a Photosport. So I got this because like I was using my old Triple-Aught design bag, and I had like an insert for it. And then I got the Peter McKinnon bag, and I started using like the small bag that was in there.
Oh, you bought the McKinnon bag? Did
Yeah,
you like
I did.
it?
It's nice. I think it'll work great for like flying and traveling and stuff like that, because obviously like you don't need to carry as much luggage.
Sure.
And it actually does have a lot. Like I use it as like a secondary bag right now to carry other gear, whereas like this is like my everyday stuff.
That's your everyday carry, yeah.
Yeah, like this goes with me everywhere. And I got this because it's like I started going out hiking a lot. Like I would go out. I go out to Shenandoah. Like I was going about once a week.
Dude, I need to go out there and take my drone.
Oh, it's nice. I need to get a drone out there. The bowling light. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, little RGB light. So I got this so I could get a red light on my camera if I was going to vlog when I was doing like astrophotography, because I thought I was going to do that one day.
Well.
It's always like you get these ideas and then you just go like, no, I'm not really interested in that.
That's life, though.
Yeah,
That's life.
Yeah, you got to keep thinking through different things until you figure out what you want to do. But no, like I use this in a lot of my videos when I was doing gear videos, and I would just use it to put color on the back.
On the back, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
nice.
that's what I was using. I got some like cheaper, like newer lights, the 30, I think it's like the 307 or something like that.
Okay.
And then Fovitech made a that's 2x, so 2 times ray light kit. So it's basically kind of like that again, kind of a knockoff like 120D, and I use that for a lot of my self-portraits I use on my website, and it's just a video light, 100-watt video light.
Nice.
So you can literally just set that up. It came with like a huge softbox. It uses Bowens mounts, so you could literally use like any mounting system. I bought some of the Godox like barn door stuff with the different color filters you can put in there. So yeah, like I mean, it works for the job. One of them kind of doesn't work, so I'm hoping that'll because yeah, like a capacitor fell out, and I sent to them. They're like, they sent back. It was like it turns on and it works.
Yeah.
And then I took it onto a job I did recently. And I was like, cool, I had both lights set up, and then the one that they sent back kept turning off, and that was because I think the
Jeez.
capacitor didn't was for the fan, and so the fan wouldn't keep it cool, so it would just shut off in like safe mode.
Really?
So like, yeah, I sent them an email like, hey, by the way, y'all sent this back, and I think this is what the actual problem was.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it happens. People miss stuff. Like, I'm sure they turned it on, they tested it, they thought it worked, and then it was like, okay, well, I mean, it turns on and off, so it does work, but you know, when you ride for a long period of time, you know, things like to heat up and turn off and sometimes break.
So we covered lighting, covered your camera gear. I say we spend the last we spend the last couple of minutes debating, I think, new camera gear, and specifically I think cameras. So I'm gonna go first on this one because you've been doing a lot of talking. Favorite camera 2021 going into that I might actually buy. How about that?
Yeah, I would say that would be a good one.
What is a camera in 2020 you would actually buy under?
Well, I think you were going to go first.
Yeah, okay, I know, but I felt like I should ask the question to you. But me, Zcam, another GH5, a GH5S, or I would buy an S5.
This is really good, bro.
But awesome! I'd buy an S5, but I don't want to go to the L mount series. So, but take all that with a grain of salt because I'm biased. So you can
you've been on GH5 a lot, yeah.
Well, yeah, and Sony's
the
are
S5,
great.
I think you can use micro four thirds and the L mounts. I believe. I thought
You'd have to buy an adapter. I'm thinking.
I'm guessing, like, again,
That's kind of
a
why I've
James
been
Popsis thing, because
Yeah.
he's been using the S5 and it's a full frame. Because I know, like, he's been like completely kind of against like full frames for the longest time. He was like, you know, he was always G9, 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 small little micro four thirds lens. And I guess he got the S5, and I think he said something about like you can use like the micro four thirds lenses on the S5 camera. So I'm not sure if it needs an adapter, but supposedly I think it works. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me.
What would you go with?
I mean, honestly,
under $5,000. Which I guess that means most of the cameras any of us would want would be obtainable.
Like, if I'm being 100% honest right now, if you gave me $5,000, I would just pocket it because I can use the gear I have. That's my thing right now. It's like,
totally.
Yeah, but if I had to buy a camera right now, I would say either, let's see, for video, like I think the A7 III, the A7S III has been a good one. Just because, like, I mean, even though it only goes up to 4K, like, you know, this whole resolution war just is really...
It's kind of silly. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
With Blackmagic doing the 12K, and then it was like...
Movies usually, like, I mean, they get upscaled to 4K, but I think even with movies, like, when you go in the theater, they're usually only, like, 2.7K.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like, I think, I can't remember, because I was looking into it one time, and it was just like, yeah, like, most movies, like, because I was like, well, what resolution do movies go? Because I was like, I'm shooting on 1080, right? Yeah. 1080 looks fine, and I've seen people be able to sharpen 1080 up and then export it and make it look 4K if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's not, you know, the resolution I don't think is that really
it's all
important.
just the scaling in post-production.
It's knowing your equipment and being able to use it and work around its limitations.
Sure.
You know, so like if all I have is two Canon ADs, like, until one or two of them break, you know, until they both break, you know, it's like there's really no need for me to
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I would, if I was doing more professional video projects, I would like probably go out and, like, if I start getting money, invest money in that, because that, you know, people do consider gear when, like, say if you wanted to shoot for Netflix, right?
Oh gosh.
And you want to get a job as like a DP, yeah, like you want to have like something like Red cameras or Arri Alexas and like the really high end stuff like that. You want something that shoots a minimum of 6K and can shoot like 10-bit RAW and stuff, because when they know you have the gear, they're going to hire you and rent your gear.
Sure.
So that way you can do those projects. But for like regular work, if you're just like going to places where people don't know lickety split about cameras, it's like, if you know your equipment and you know you can make a baller video or take some baller photos with that equipment, you know, most of this stuff's being viewed online on a device like, you know,
Dude, you
this
literally
big.
read my mind because
Yeah.
everyone's consuming on that. Even when I take photos with my iPhone, my wife's like, "Oh, that looks so great." I'm like, "Yeah, blow it up and print it out. It looks like that." You know,
Exactly.
that's
It's like
the
super soft and everything.
yeah. I feel like it looks so much better on that dang device, and then when it's off of that device, it just looks completely different. But I agree with you, man. I mean, I did a video recently just in regards to, I feel bad that like people even go out and buy new cameras because I almost find it to be silly. Like I've said, my first go-to would be going deeper into the system I'm already in because
Hmm.
I already know it's going to get me by for the next 3 to 4 years easily.
The only thing I'm looking at buying right now, I think, is a new lens, and it's the Canon.
Glass lasts forever,
Yeah.
man.
Well, it's still an EFS lens,
Yeah.
which I mean, sure, it's a crop sensor lens, but
Whatever.
it's the it's the Canon 15 to 85. So
Mm.
like I said, I'm running the 18 to 135, which is a great lens. The problem is when you're trying to get on the wide end,
Yeah.
that 18 is especially on a crop lens, like it's so common and it's so awkward for like a wide angle shot. Like sometimes you can really make it work, and again, work around your limitations.
Yeah.
The 15 to 85 with the crop factor is effectively a 24 to 136. And right now I think it's like just over 200, like it's a 204 on the 18 to 135 for a 35 millimeter equivalent. So I'm not really losing a whole lot on zoom.
Yeah.
And then with the resolution I have on there, which is 24 megapixels, it's 4,000 by 6,000 pixels. I can still
geez.
crop in a little bit.
Yeah, and you're fine.
Yeah. Like I said, with where these, like, even if I was going to print it, you know, like I crop in a little bit, it's still going to print pretty good on a large format, you know, so that I would get just because it makes it to where I have a lens that I don't really have to change out as often. Like
Yeah.
with this one, like if I want to get a decent wide shot that that I like, that 24 millimeters is like,
The sweet spot.
it is the sweet spot when it comes to wide angles. You could go wider, but 24 is like really good. So having something like a 24 millimeter equivalent on the wide end would get me like that nice wide angle shot to where like I don't have to change my lens down to the 10 to 18. And then at 85, like that gets me about a 136. And as long as I have a 50 for me is effectively at 80 millimeter, which is like the perfect like portrait lens, which if you ever want to do a test, if you run you're running the GH5s, if you ever look through or look just through like a regular camera, like where it's got a standard viewfinder, like an SLR, if you look through it at 80 millimeters, it's like almost matches your vision, which I'm wondering if that's like why like it looks so
Really?
good for portraits. Yeah, like I would sit there and I put my 50 on my camera and I'd focus on something and I just hold up through one eye and like everything almost lines up perfectly.
That's wild.
Yeah, so I'm like sitting there wondering myself, like I wonder if that's why like everyone likes like the 80 to 85 millimeter for portrait lenses. Like nifty 50 is great, but it's like a lot of people do tend to kind of lean more towards like the 85 or like a lot of your like typical standard portrait shots and stuff like that. So I'm like, I wonder if that's why. That it would be interesting.
Hey man, probably. There's probably a reason why. But the last thing,
psychologically.
yeah. So the last thing I kind of wanted, speaking of psychologically, the last thing I wanted to cover was for 2021. We talked about you kind of what you're doing, what you're up to. What are your goals, man?
Just
what are the goals?
Kind of get to where I can be self-sustaining. You know,
Sure.
Goal is 6 months.
Yeah.
Not trying to talk too much about it because, as I like to say, like,
Totally. Yeah.
Don't
I know,
talk
I
about your
know.
goals. You know, you do them and then you show off
Don't
the
talk
progress.
about it, be about it kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, it's actually again psychological thing. So like when you talk about what you want to do, apparently that tricks your brain to thinking like it's doing it.
Interesting.
So yeah, like when you sit there and you tell people like, oh yeah, I'm going to like see the world and do this and do that, you know, you're kind of tricking your brain to thinking like you're pretty much already doing it. Like you're creating that dopamine, but you're not really like starving it for it. So like when you sit there and talk about it a lot, then you're going to like kind of deprive yourself of the actual progress of getting there.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the things I've been learning is like try to not like, you know, work more in silence, you know, and then just like show off the progress as you get there.
Funny.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite because I feel like the more I blab about it, then I have to make myself accountable or I fail hard.
It may be different for different people, you know, but I mean, it's also like I guess it depends on when you're doing it. Like if you're not doing it Like if you're just talking about like, you're all talk, like you say like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, versus like, dude, this is what I'm doing and that's what I'm doing. Like if you're actually doing it and then bragging about what you're doing, kind of, I think, a totally different concept, because you're just like, dude, I just shot this banger video and stuff like that.
Like,
and
well,
like,
you did do it.
You already did it, so whatever, you did it, brag about
That's
it.
a good point.
But like if you're sitting there like, you haven't shot a damn thing, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna like make all the banger videos and everything like that, and then you go home and you watch like 20 YouTube videos on how to do something, and then you never do it.
Well, that's okay. That might be the last conversation we end up finishing this on, is the amount of YouTube consumption. I think we were talking about it earlier before we hit record, but you mentioned that you have definitely slowed down.
Oh, I just cut it out completely.
Oh, good for you, man. It's almost sickening. Like if I like look at my phone, or I'm sure I could probably look at YouTube of how much I watch it.
Yeah.
It's a good and bad thing. Like if my problem is, I think I've hit that threshold where I'm not necessarily learning.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of people could probably make the argument, whoa, well, I'm binging because I'm learning. I'm binging to binge. Like,
so yeah, like, and that's the thing. It's like, and that's where I kind of learned. It's like if you're constantly learning but never applying, then you are, you're consuming. Yeah. You're not producing. You're consuming.
You literally are just a
consumer.
consumer.
Like, yeah, mutual friend of ours talking to Jesse, like, I know that's one of the things he kept trying to drill in my head. Like, I know there's a lot of things you tried drilling in my head, like back when. It's like, overthinking things. I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not really doing them.
You do know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know, because I mean, I'm a learning addict. I like to take in information, but it's just like when I have it, I never really knew what to do with it. So now I'm trying to switch to the opposite spectrum, where it's like it's do, and then if I fail, whatever, learn from it, try again, or try something different. And then if I need to look something up, if I need to learn something, because it's like, like say like with my website, there's some things I'm trying to do on there that requires code, so I'll like sit there and be like, okay, well, let me look up how to do this. I find it. Yep. I apply it. And then that's it. Close the tab, be done with it. If I have to watch a video because there's no good written tutorial on it, then okay, I'll sit and watch the video. Once I get through that segment of the video that gets what I need, get rid of it. But yeah, like you need to kind of like sit there and look at like what you're doing. If you're sitting there like watching tons of videos because you're like, oh, I want to be a photographer, it's not going to make a difference if you don't put in the work. Yeah. So no, I know what you're like. Yeah. So like I was just like, I got there one day because I was like watching videos and I was just like, you know what? It's like I just hit close. I closed the YouTube tab, and then I closed like probably like 100 other tabs like on my browser, and then like I have like a set, like because I have like different tab like groups that I have organized, and like the only ones I've been on are like all my working tabs. So like if I'm looking at like building like my website, or looking at what I should be doing for pricing, or something like that, and then it's just like it's as I'm like I got one tab open with like my website and stuff that I'm working on, and then I'm over here, and if I get stuck, I do something else. I like it. So it's like I'm really trying to like hyper focus on just get the work done, and wake up in the morning. That's basically what I do. I have my morning routine, workout, meditate, journal, whatever. And then it's just like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? If I'm driving home from work, or if I'm driving home from like climbing, because like climbing's like one of those things that's kind of towards my goals, because that's the stuff I want to shoot. That's I want to go out. I want to have adventures. I want to see things. I want to shoot. And yeah, if I'm coming home from that, I'm like, okay, what can I do when I get home? What can I work on? Sure. So yeah, I would say if you're trying to do something, just do it, fail, fail often, fail forward. Totally. So yeah, that's probably, if I was going to give life advice, that's what I would say. Well, cheers. Yeah. Cheers to that. And that's probably a great way to end the first edition of Gear and Beers, but with no beer. Hey, I'm totally fine with bourbon. Well, I think what will be fun is I'll have you back on again, and your episodes will always feature bourbon. I'm fine with that. Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm fine with beer too, but bourbon's like, it's got good flavor. It's good, man. It's delish. All right, but last but not least, where can they find you? I know we discussed it earlier, but give us Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Pretty much Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is just Joshua D. Taft, no spaces, no underscores, nothing. And then website, again, is joshuataft.com. It'll hopefully be updated here soon. I'm again doing a lot of work on the back end. I got a lot of work I got to do.
Fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
keep working at it, and eventually, like, I'll have something on there. But and then as far as YouTube, just look up Joshua Taft
Nice.
because I don't have enough followers to be like,
Dude, same here.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if my name will come up yet. So
Well, I
we're all
mean,
working
so
on
it
that.
comes up, but it's like, you can usually add the, like, your channel, whatever you want, onto
Oh
the
yeah.
URL instead of having that weird thing, but you need a minimum of like 100 followers to get that. So I
Ah,
haven't done that yet because
okay.
I don't have the 100 followers. And like I said, like right now, like eventually I'd like to get back on YouTube, but it's just, um, I would rather focus on something that's going to give me a, quicker positive return on my investment of time,
Totally.
which YouTube, great investment, great returns, but it can take a long time to get that return on that versus, going out and trying to actually find clients and
Absolutely.
get work and just bust your ass off.